In Shakespeare's time, portraits were powerful. They showed wealth and status. People wanted to be remembered. A portrait was a way to do that. It was like a status symbol in Elizabethan and Jacobean society. Portraits helped people understand the social order. The queen, the nobles, the wealthy merchants, they all used portraits to show their place in the world. It was a visual language everyone understood. Portraits were not just about looks, they were about power and identity. Artists didn't just paint a face, they captured an image of power.
Painted portraits were the most common. People commissioned artists to paint their likeness. These portraits used oil paints on canvas or wood panels. Artists like Nicholas Hilliard were famous for their detailed miniatures. Painting a portrait took time and skill. The artist would mix pigments, creating the right colors. They would study the subject's face, capturing their character. The process was expensive. Only the wealthy could afford to have their portraits painted. It was a luxury, a sign of their elevated status.
Miniature portraits were small, painted on copper or card. They were intimate and personal. People carried them in lockets or wore them as jewelry. Miniatures were often given as gifts. Lovers exchanged them as tokens of affection. Families commissioned them to remember loved ones. Despite their size, miniatures were highly detailed. Artists used fine brushes to create lifelike images. They captured the sitter's personality in miniature.
Engravings were another way to create portraits.
Artists carved an image onto a metal plate. This plate was then used to make prints.
Engravings were cheaper than paintings. This made them accessible to a wider audience.
People could own portraits of famous figures.
Engravings were often used in books. They illustrated texts and brought history to life.
Readers could see the faces of kings, queens, and other historical figures.
For the very wealthy, there were busts.
Sculptors carved likenesses in stone or bronze. These three-dimensional portraits were a grand statement of power.
Death masks were another type of portrait. Made from wax or plaster, they captured the features of the deceased.
These masks were often used to create realistic funeral effigies. Death masks were a way to remember the dead.
They served as a reminder of mortality, a common theme in Shakespeare's plays. Portraits in Shakespeare's time were more than just pictures. They were reflections of power, status and identity. They showed the social order and the aspirations of the people. From grand painted portraits to intimate miniatures, these images played a vital role in Elizabethan and Jacobean society. They remind us that the human face, in life and in death, has always been a powerful symbol.